Listen up, bro. Top 10 most evil German officers. Let's go. Alright, at number 10 we got Herbert Beck. This guy looks pretty harmless but was far from it. He was the brain behind Operation Hunger, which entailed the organized starvation of the Soviet people by taking all their food, keeping it for the German people, and then trapping the Soviet people so they couldn't get new supplies. This caused millions of people to pass away from starvation. Truly evil and sinister, this man. At number 9 we got Theodor Eicke. This guy was the inspector of concentration camps, and from 1934 to 1939 he went round to the different concentration camps that were being built and made sure they lived up to the very brutal standard he set. Then, when World War II broke out in 1939, he left his noble profession because he had been appointed head of the SS division Totenkopf. During his leadership, his division became notorious for its brutality and war crimes. Jesus Christ. And at number 8 we got Joseph Goebbels. You've definitely heard of this guy. He was the propaganda minister in Germany from 1933 to 1945. He's one of the main guys to blame for the rise of anti-Semitism in Germany, as he was one of the most vocal people when it came to promoting hate towards Jews. He was also one of the only top leaders who publicly supported the extermination of Jews. And as the cherry on top, he also unalived his 6 children by the end of the war, which is, totally normal. At number 7 we got Odilo Globoknik. This guy speaks for himself. I mean, look at those eyes. Holy shit. He was in charge of producing and establishing Belzec, which was the first extermination camp that was created in Poland. Apparently this guy got great joy from unaliving Jewish people and was always very eager to do so, which proves how much of a psychopath this guy was. In total, he was complicit in the unaliving of 1.5 million Jewish people. Genuinely can't believe guys like this even existed. At number 6 we got Adolf Eichmann. This guy was one of the main architects behind the Holocaust, which automatically makes him one of the worst human beings of all time. He was responsible for the deportation of the Jewish people to extermination camps, where they eventually lost their lives. Apparently he told one of his deputies that the fact that he had 5 million bodies on his conscience gave him extraordinary satisfaction. What the f***? At number 5 we got Joseph Mengele, known as the Angel of Death. He was a physician at the most notorious concentration camp, Auschwitz. Among other things, he was involved with selecting who was going to the gas chambers and who was going to work. A task that he apparently enjoyed very much, even smiling and whistling while doing the selection. Whilst there, he also performed many brutal and evil experiments on Jewish people. You'll have to Google these experiments yourself though, cause they were just too to be talked about here. But this guy is absolutely one of the most sadistic and evil people who ever lived. At number 4 we got Oskar Dirlewanger. Looking at this guy, it probably doesn't surprise you that he was a really bad guy. He was the creator and commander of the Dirlewanger Brigade, which was the undisputed most brutal unit in World War II. Wherever he went, atrocities followed. He did lethal experiments on Jewish people and did horrible things involving children too. He's been called a monster, sadist, pervert and psychopath by historians, who also called him one of the most evil figures, not just in the Third Reich, but in world history. At number 3 we got Adolf Hitler. I know you already know this man, but let me just explain anyway. Obviously the guy behind World War II, the most deadly war in history, an insane dictator in almost every way. Already back in the early 1920s, he was spreading hate towards Jews, and his anti-Semitic rhetoric spread within the National Socialist groups in Germany. And when he came to power in 1933, those hateful ideas would be a huge part of his regime. He is therefore to blame for the idea of the Holocaust even coming to exist. The reason why he's not number 1 is because these next two took the insane idea of the Holocaust and actually brought it to life. At number 2 we got Reinhard Heydrich. This guy was one of the main architects of the Holocaust. He held and led the conference where the idea of the Holocaust was discussed and subsequently implemented. He is therefore responsible for taking the absolute insane and evil idea of the Holocaust and bringing it to life. He was however assassinated in 1942, but at that point the Holocaust was already in full effect. Operation Reinhard was even named after him, which was the establishment of the first 3 extermination camps and the subsequent unaliving of around 2 million Jewish people. And at number 1 we got Heinrich Himmler. It is not without reason this man is number 1 on this list. Along with Eichmann and Heydrich, Himmler was also one of the main architects of the Holocaust. But because Himmler had by far the most power of the 3, he is often regarded as the man behind the Holocaust, where 6 million lives were lost. He was also behind the master plan of the East, which was the plan to exterminate mainly the the Slavic people in Eastern Europe. It resulted in the unaliving of around 14 million people. It's unbelievable how many people lost their lives because of this man. You can also argue that he is to blame for the atrocities that some of the other guys on this list committed, because many of them were only able to operate because Himmler allowed it. He knew the horrible things they did and still allowed it, and even encouraged it. Himmler was the most terrible and evil individual in World War II, and perhaps even in history. That's the top 10. Please like and subscribe to keep the channel alive. I'll see you in the next one.